precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's up? What's up? Welcome back to another episode. I have a question for you. How close will you let the heat get before you get burnt? That's real fire. How close? Guys, today, Forged by Fire, Burner Built. It's your choice. And, as I thought here today, just thinking about all of the things that many of us want to do in our life, from going to start a business to even just finding a spouse, going for the thing that we're really passionate about. What I've discovered and what we'll discover today is a lot of times it's the fire. Fire's going dim. A lot of times it's the fire. Let me see if I can get some more fire. We're getting a little bit more fire here, and then I'm gonna be done with my flame. A lot of I'm not getting it. A lot of times it's the fire. Let's get some more flames here. Let's get some flames. Let's get some flames going. There we go. A lot of times it's the fire. And wow, what's crazy is the fire is what makes us better. Today on the podcast, we're going to go through how we really have a choice, but sometimes we get thrown in the fire and it really, really hurts. Some years ago, must have been, this is like in the early 70s, my mom was in the kitchen and she was cooking, like in the Southern kitchen, breakfast. What's one of the staples in the Southern kitchen for breakfast? Grits. Has anybody ever had grits? Look, we are not talking about them sweet things that people want to put sugar on. No, we don't eat the sweet grits. We eat the savory grits with black pepper, even stew meat and stew gravy. But this was just basic grits with butter and salt and pepper. And my mom is in there cooking grits. If you know anything about grits, see, when you cook grits get really hot. And my mom in there cooking, my older brother, Bucky, is in the kitchen with mom. And, he knows not to be in the kitchen. He knows not to be touching anything. And somehow he got over to where my mom was, and, she's making these grits. And he knocked the grits over. Man, look. These grits were like fire. Now, they didn't have it. At this point, it was not a choice, but that burn came. See, because what happens with grits is that when they are simmering, right? When they're simmering, that's when the most heat is in the grits. And those grits got on my mom and it got on my brother, and they had like real burns. They had like first-degree burns. My brother burnt his foot. My mom, I think she burned her arm or something, but it was pretty bad. Look, sometimes what scalds you isn't the fire. It's what's simmering on it. I want you to write that down. Sometimes it's not what scalds you, right? It's not what scalds you. That's not always the fire. It's the thing that's simmering. And so my mom and my brother, they got burnt because not of fire. They got burnt because the grits were simmering. So how close will you go, when you talk about the heat. I was really close with my wallet here. This is one of these wallets where it's a stunt. It's an actual stunt wallet, and I bought this on Amazon. It's the first time I used it, just testing it out. But that wallet, like that fire was real, and it was close to my hand. And when it got hot, I just went ahead and closed it up because I didn't want to get burned. But let's look at what the Word of God says. There's a couple places I found. One in Isaiah, talking about what fire is about. Isaiah 43 and verse number 2. It says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. See, that's not the first place we heard about this, because we heard about flames not burning in Daniel, right? We heard about the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, how they wouldn't bow down to King Nebuchadnezzar. And because they didn't bow down to King Nebuchadnezzar, he decided that, for those who don't bow down, I'm going to go ahead and heat up this furnace. And then when he found out they wouldn't do it, and he gave them a second chance, because he says, man, I love you guys, man. But hey guys, if you don't bow down, I'm gonna give you another chance. You got to bow down, and then you'll be all right with me. It says, look, you can do whatever you want to do. We still ain't going to bow down. So think about this. They were staring at the fire. And then Nebuchadnezzar decided, you know what? Let's make the fire even hotter. So think about it. This wallet, if the heat was 7 times hotter than it was when I turned it on, I probably would have got burned, because the people that had to get this fire that much hot, they all got burned. And he threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the fire. So we know that story. So here in Malachi, I mean in Isaiah, that's the next chapter. In Isaiah, it says that you will not be burned, because when you walk through the fire, like it says, when you walk through the fire, you will not be burned, and the flames not set you ablaze. Let's look at Malachi says. Malachi 3 and 2 says this. It says, but who may abide the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like full of soap. So let's think about this. The fire that he's talking about here is the kind of fire that refines us. It makes us better. It puts us in a good position to become the best version of ourselves. Like a lot of times when we want to do things in our life, you want to start a business, you really want to go for it, in an area that you've been holding back in. And, a lot of times we sit back and we don't do anything, because we're afraid of what people are going to think. I remember just some years ago, I wasn't sure what people would think of me when I started talking. I wasn't a talker. I wasn't the kind of person that had a pointed opinion. And now it doesn't really matter. I have a pointed opinion. My opinion is that every person should know their purpose. Every person should understand their potential. Every person should be out here going for who they are. But it's going to take courage. It's going to take us deciding and putting ourselves in situations where the fire is going to refine us. A couple things about the flames, right? The flames give us choice. Like how the flame burns is going to give us a choice. And the first choice the flame will give us is this. Choice number 1. Burned and devoured, or held. Or burned and devoured, like that's like held back, consumed by the fire. Like if you get burned and devoured, that just means that you held back. You were consumed by fear. You didn't go for it. I didn't go for it. And there's things that every time I decide to do a podcast every week, I'm wondering, am I going to get consumed by this? Am I really going to be able to get through it? I don't know what to say. I don't know what stories to tell. I don't know how to do this. But it's my choice not to get devoured. It's my choice to move forward. It's my choice to run almost every day up a hill that makes my body hurt, makes my knees hurt. But I decided that I would not be devoured by fear. Say this: I will not be devoured by fear. Choice number 2: you can be burned and refined. Think about that. I got 2 choices: devoured or refined. I can be burned and refined. You know, the 3 Hebrew boys were refined. They never got burnt. Their faith was strengthened even more. Now, they had faith. Wow. They had impossible faith when there was no impossible faith. They just decided that, hey, we are standing on our own business. We are standing on the promise that God asked us. He says, look, when you serve me, just tell people. And they told the people, we serve Yahweh. We serve the one God. And there's no other gods that we're going to put before him. Mr. Nebuchadnezzar, King Nebuchadnezzar, we're not going to do that. So when they went into the fire, they said, you know, our God will. That's an impossible faith. He will deliver us today. They were sure. Here's what they said after. However, even if he doesn't, we will still not bow down. Let's think about this. Their faith was refined to a point. Think about this. They didn't know it up until that point. Now there's nothing that could stop them or keep them from moving towards where God was calling them. See, God's calling all of us, and he's calling all of us. He's saying, look, you can come into the fire. You know, Yeshua Mashiach was in the fire with them. Come into the fire. It's not going to burn. Be refined. And when you are refined, here's what happens. All the impurities are removed and your purpose is revealed. Like literally the layers come off. The layers come off. It's like, oh, just by going through this every day, my knees getting stronger. Just by going through this every time I go live, every time I post a new podcast, I'm strengthened in the fact that I know who I am. And it's like, wow, I didn't know that was there, but it took the refining of the fire. It took the refining of the fire. Now, let me ask you a question. Which path are you on, or which path will you be on after today? Which path? Come on now. Like it's easy. One day, I definitely don't want to be on that devouring path. I don't want to get burned. I don't want to keep holding back and being consumed by fear. So I might as well go into this area where I'll be burned and refined. Look, for my mentor, Dr. Miles Monroe, who basically, he was the igniter for me. He ignited the fire in me. Sometimes we got to get that fire ignited. Somebody has to ignite it for you. It was ignited. It was when I heard Dr. Miles's voice. It was so crazy. I'm at the gym. This is, back in 2019, January of 2019. I'm in the gym. I always listen to motivational stuff, right? So here was a motivational video. I'm trying to figure out what channel it was on. I can't remember what channel it was on. I'm listening to this motivational video. I knew a few people on it, and there was this voice. I said, I've never heard that voice before. So that day I heard the voice. It was good too. I was like, man, I just felt something different that day. I wasn't just motivated. I was like, man, something just happened. The next day I said, let me find that again. Press it again. Listen to it again. And then that day I said, you know what? When I get home, I got to make sure I go to YouTube to find out who that person is, because I had never heard anything like that before. And boy, oh boy, when I was like, oh my goodness, something happened. See, yeah, we got 2 choices, right? Burn to devour. We don't want to do that. burn and refine. We want to do that. So our purpose is revealed. But that middle choice is, how can we allow the fire to be ignited in our life? So when we are refined, like getting to the point of refinement is to then get from that point of the ignition. Like we need an igniting factor. And Dr. Miles Monroe was the igniting factor, as I hope that this podcast could be an igniting factor for you, right? So in the text that we read, Isaiah 43:2 basically says that God's protection is the fire. And in Malachi 3:2 and 3, it says God as the refiner, he's refining things like silver. He's refining things like gold. He's refining things like diamonds. Diamonds is a manifestation that beauty is forged under extreme heat and pressure. That's where a diamond comes from. That's where you come from. You are a diamond that has yet to be revealed, but today the fire is ignited so that God can do his good work. And you reveal your purpose. Because I believe that when a person's purpose for their life is revealed, they look at everything differently. See, part of the purpose for my life was living a healthy life. Like, because by living a healthy life in all areas of my life, and especially in the areas of what goes into my body, well, all the things that, helps the body to be fueled, this health thing has put me in a position where the forging and the refining of who I am is coming from some actions that I have to do on a daily basis, like running the hill, going to the gym, doing a podcast, doing things that literally keep refining you over and over and over, so that one day you look up and you don't even recognize the person that you are. So there's a couple things here that I believe we can take away from today's episode, which is, and we're going to do it in 3 steps. We want to first name the flame. I want you to name the flame. We want to identify the fear, the habit, the relationship that must burn away so that purpose can be revealed. Name the flame. Identify the fear, the habit, or the relationship that must burn away so that you can continue moving on. Number 2, fuel it with vision. Connect the burn to your God-given dream. Look, oh my goodness, dreams. Whew, dreams. What's so special about dreams is that dreams inspire us. It's nothing like having a dream and being inspired, but it's nothing like having a dream and then somebody killing your dream. So in order for you to be insulated, in order for me to be insulated from a dream killer, I got to make sure I name the flame. I got to make sure I identify anything that could come up that could potentially hurt me. Then I got to fuel it. So fuel that flame with the vision of the dream that God has given me. And God has given us all a big dream. Then we want to step and stay. Step and stay. Like step and stay. What does that mean? Commit until the old falls off and the new emerges. So what do we have to do today? We got to name the flame. We're going to identify the fear, the relationship, the habit that has to go away. We want to then fuel with vision, connect. We want to connect the burn to your God-given dream. And then lastly, step and stay. Commit until the old falls off and the new emerges. Anybody here got value today from walking through, how a person can literally be forged by fire, making a choice. We all can make a choice. Now, my mom didn't get a chance to make a choice, even though those grits were a reminder in her life that things that simmer can burn. Not just fire, things that just kind of keep going for a long time. One day you look up, man, you've been having this bad habit, and all of a sudden your whole life is in shambles. So we got to know that, look, I've got to make sure that if the fire is going to be lit, then it's got to refine me. It's got to burn away the things that I do not want in my life, so that I can literally be the person that I know God created me to be. So look, today was all about making a choice. What choice will you make when it comes to the type of fire that you will endure? Will it be the type of fire that basically steals your life, that burns you up? Or will it be the type of fire that literally fuels your life and refines you into the person that you know you are? It's your choice. And because it's your choice, you can do whatever God has for you. So guys, I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of the Account for Life podcast. This is Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.